if it's me, you'll be a very hungry bin chicken. But there you go.
I don't know, mate. Between you and I, you look like a pretty well-fed bin chicken, mate.
That's true. Haven't missed a whole lot of meals, mate.
No, good to see you lighthearted, mate. It's always good to see you smiling and have a laugh.
Oh, mate, it's always good to catch up with you, mate, and exactly that. It's you bring a smile to my face, even if you don't intend it. Just looking at you is funny, So,
hey, you're not the first to tell me that. Unfortunately, I hear that pretty regularly, mate.
It's all good, mate. It's all good. Now, what's on the agenda today? Anything
Well, on the agenda, mate, I'll get through the intro, and I reckon the agenda might jump out at you, yeah? We've got the shock jock, Aaron Malloy from EdgeRadio. Aaron isn't just a voice on the mic. He's a voice for every father who's been silenced, alienated and falsely accused. A man who has stood in the fire of family court injustice, and he refuses to be broken. His recent video isn't just powerful, it reveals the true character of a father who continues to rise, speak and fight for his children, despite a system that tried to erase him. Aaron is raw, he's real, and he's relentlessly honest about parental alienation, false allegations and gender-driven court orders, and what they are doing to men across Australia. He's not afraid to speak his truth. He's not embarrassed to show his pain. He's standing tall so that others don't fall. At Unspoken Truth, we honour fathers like Aaron, not victims but warriors. His courage is a mirror for the millions of dads suffering in silence that are too fearful to speak. Watch his latest video, witness the strength of a man who refuses to let the system define him. Aaron, mate, always a pleasure to speak to you. It brought a tear to my eye watching you in that recent clip you done. Goes for about 9 minutes. I can't encourage enough alienated fathers to have a look at it, because you are the epitome of what happens when a system backfires, mate. So they want us all to be broken and hanging out and not fighting back. You, on the other hand, mate, you're a leading light for alienated dads, and I commend you for putting it out there.
Mate, I appreciate everything you've just said. I think you're probably being a little bit too kind, but,
I did start off being a bit of an arsehole, so I thought I'd better smooth it over.
You've got to have a bit of yin and yang. I get that. Got to balance it out. It's funny, actually, as you're saying it, like, kind of, to be honest with you, I relive a little bit of it all, and I've actually got a little tiny tear in my eye as well, because you can't help it. Unless you're a robot, you can't just disattach yourself from what's happened and what continues to happen. Even the most mundane little things. I got a phone call from one of my favourite government departments the other day. I think we've all, the fathers who are watching this might know which one I'm talking about. And it was just like the person on the other end just did not have a soul, right? Didn't have any sort of empathy whatsoever. And if you're working in human services, right, you should have empathy. It's really that simple. And, they're talking about money. They're talking about that, horrible thing that they, like I've always said, if one man takes something from another man, okay, and says, you can't see this, you can't have this unless you pay money. Well, we put them in prison. We call that extortion, okay? Yeah. So it's really interesting. In our space, it's called something very, very different. It's called child support. And while I don't for 1 second deny my children money to live, to be raised, to have all the things that they need, if you're going to erase me, but you still want my money, how does that work? And I'm not speaking for my children here, okay, at all. My children are the victims in this entire situation. So, yeah, look, ultimately, a phone call that was just about squeezing me for more cash was... I hate the term triggering, but it was. And you know what? It carried me through, like Tuesday and Wednesday, I had a bit of pain from it, because it just reminds you of all the beautiful times you had. Honestly, that's the funny thing. Okay, it actually took me to all the beautiful times that I had with my kids, and the fact that I haven't had them for basically 9 years. And there's no finish line in sight here. None at all. Yeah.
And it's a reminder too, isn't it, mate? The word trigger is something that I don't like to accept either, given I've got an adjustment disorder from what I've been through, but it is what it is. And I mean, I'm sure we're very similar, where you can be having a great day. Everything's rosy, and then all of a sudden a song will come on that you used to sing with your kids, or it reminds you of a certain event you attended, and you turn into this blubbering mess, and you think, when the hell is this all going to stop? And the sad reality is, like you just said, it probably never will.
It never will, mate. It never will. You You never forget, you never get over, you just find different coping mechanisms. That's all you do.
Said. Well said. And that's the only option you've got, isn't it, really?
No, well, that's it. And like we talk so much about, and we've got to keep talking, and I'll never stop talking about this, but the absolute epidemic we have in Australia of male suicide, and almost all of it is alienated fathers.
Yes.
Like we've talked about the figures. We're talking about, between 46 and 49 Australian dads per week are taking that decision to, I believe the term on YouTube is unalive themselves.
Well, here on Unspoken Truth and EdgeRadio, mate, we call it as it is, and that's male suicide.
Exactly.
Being coerced politically and legally, just to make it very clear to those that aren't aware.
And I agree. I totally agree with that. You've got organisations like, the Child Support Agency, like Services Australia, like the Family Court, all of these agencies that actually conspire against dads. Okay, and they push dads into killing themselves, into taking their lives. It's just disgusting. I'm going to tell a story that I don't think I've ever talked to you about, ever shared with you before, mate. But I'm going to tell you actually about a story about when I was a single dad, okay, on my own. And I went into good old Centrelink, as it was then, Services Australia, whatever you want to call it, because I was in a position where I had an excellent full-time job. But then, unfortunately, my former partner was not coping very well. I won't go into why. She has her own demons, but she couldn't cope with being a mum, and the relationship ended. So I needed to step up all my efforts to being a stay-at-home dad. I got this excellent job. Without boring you to death, I walked away from the job. I handed the keys back. Lost quite frankly, a lifelong opportunity that was going really, really well. But that's fine. You do these things. Yeah. Now, I contacted Services Australia and I said to them, I've become a full-time dad, explained everything to them. And they said, look, you have to live off your savings until you run out of savings, then you can apply to us. But it's good that you contacted us. We've got that as initial contact. Great, no problem. Anyway, I'm going to shorten this story as much as I can because I can go, I can talk underwater, right? So I'll go on and on and on. But this is the version that is probably best to deal with here. So essentially what's happened is this. I go into the Centrelink office. I've got my daughter, in the pram, then under my arm. Anyway, I go and get assessed there, and this woman just says, no, you have to wait. So they push this on later and later and later. So anyway, I went back repeated times and saw a couple of different offices there, but one particular one, and they just kept rejecting me and saying, no, you're not actually eligible, right? So anyway, after months and months passed, now thank God at that situation in my life, it would be nice to go back there. I was in a financial situation where I wasn't under incredible pressure. I did have some savings. I had something to live off. So my daughter and I were fine. But after many months, that dwindled down. And there was basically nothing. Yes, it does. So I'm in there and I am desperate. I'm absolutely desperate for money. And I'm talking to this lady I'd seen before. And she said to me, she goes, well, you're not eligible. And I said, how am I not eligible? And then she said to me, how do I know you didn't just borrow a friend's baby and come in here?
Oh, my God.
I kid you not. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like, are you kidding? Anyway, she goes, no. Yeah, look, she did not concede for 1 second. She didn't understand the concept of a single father. She just totally disbelieved me. And she had absolute hatred and misandry, full-scale misandry for me, right? So no worries. Well, lots of worries. So she says, no. And I said, I'm here. My daughter is on my knee. I've got, a pram. I've got a baby bag. I've got, I've got nappies. I've got food. I've got homemade food I made for her, right? Like I'm completely, I've gone into the role 150%. So I leave. Anyway, I come back about 2 weeks later. I said, I don't want to see that woman again. Can I see someone else, please? And I am incredibly lucky. I got this woman who was younger, and she said she was very, very careful about what she said. But essentially, this is what she said. She said, look, my partner is going through something very similar to this. Of course, I can't give you details. And of course, because of privacy, I can't tell you anything about your ex-partner or any payment she might be on, anything like that. I can't, disclose any privacy. Okay, no problem. But do you mind if I do something a little unorthodox, a little outside the box? Go for your life. So right there in front of me, with my beautiful daughter on my knee, this young woman rings up and makes a phone call. And she's talking to my ex. And then she says, oh, what's that noise in the background? Oh, is that your little girl? Isn't she named her? Yeah, is that her, gurgling in the background? And my ex went, yes, yeah, it is. She's making a bit of noise. She's just having a bit of a sleep, but she's just stirring at the moment. And then this woman said, oh, thank you so much. You've told me everything I need to know. Put the phone down, went, Aaron, you've just been approved. Now, what had happened over that period, over all of those months, that other woman just accepted the fact that my ex had my daughter and custody and care of my daughter when she didn't. Yeah. She'd done a runner. She was actually on the other side of Australia at this stage in Melbourne, I believe. Not 100% sure, but I believe at that period she was. So only because of that did anything come of it, and did I actually start getting support, from the government payments, which got me through trouble. And obviously, I moved on and, got a job that I could work around the kids and all of that. But the total disbelief that a single dad exists and might need help just blew my mind. And also, when I said to her, I said, what will happen to my ex? Because she's actually, basically been saying that she's had my daughter all this time, and clearly she doesn't. And she said, I can't tell you what would happen, but I don't, I wish I could remember her exact words. Basically, she told me without telling me there will be no consequences. Right? Now, lots of men I've spoken to have had similar issues with that when they've gone to government departments and they've really been given no help whatsoever. That's just wrong. It's actually pure sexism. Now, if we flip this the other way, oh my word, right, what would happen? And while I think of that, I'm not a guy who likes to spend a lot of time at a computer typing thing. So, this will probably never happen because I just don't want to do it. But it's been many times been suggested because of my particular journey to write a book about this. And a friend actually suggested this. What if I write the entire book? If I do, write the entire book, but from a woman's perspective, right? The thing will be a bestseller. And then on the last page, I will go, oh, by the way, this is my name and I'm a man.
And in the culture we live, mate, you probably won't be believed.
Boom. Yep.
Let it go on April Fool's.
Right.
Launch it on 1st of April, mate. You might get it out then.
Well, maybe that's the date I should release it, I guess. But it's true, the double standard. And then everybody will go on and go, oh, geez, he hates women, da-da-da-da. No, I don't hate women. I'm just so sick and tired of hearing that. It's utter rubbish. Yeah. It is just utter rubbish. It is just another way of shutting people down. Yes. It's just a lazy way. Oh, geez, misogyny, this, that, man, hates woman, sexist, all of that. It's just a lazy way of not being part of the conversation. Why? Because you've got nothing to offer.
Another made-up scenario like toxic masculinity where they can derail a constructive conversation, play the passive-aggressive victim card and claim victory and jam the flag in the ground for all female. It's a disgrace, isn't it?
It is a disgrace, mate. And the more it goes on and it gets worse, the conflict that's actually created between men and women, like the future generations don't have a bloody chance.
No, and that's really well said, mate. The segue into that, I had a conversation around this a little while ago, and it was through somebody that put a comment on your TikTok video, and I reached out to them and offered them an interview.
Oh, good on you.
It was quite interesting, their take on things, but we could agree on the one main thing. It is a divide and conquer strategy, but also done another interview with Michael this morning, the retired lawyer. Yeah. And we discussed, the topic today was false allegations. Now, I've lived them, you've lived them. Quite a lot of poor alienated fathers, and some sadly that aren't with us anymore, have lived them. But to hear it from his point of view and all the, I suppose the words to use are systemic, that they use to try to control the narrative, but they knew 25 years ago.
Of course they did.
Suicides were being drastically increased due to family court orders. But yet, if you know things 25 years ago, which is quarter of a century, and things have gotten so much worse, I think it's fair to say that you know exactly what you're doing with the amendments you're putting forward in the family court system. Of course you do. Yeah, it's strategy. It's absolute strategy.
Yeah, and like I've said before, you separate families. Guess what you do? Okay, it's great for the economy in so many ways. You now need 2 sets of rents or mortgages. You need car payments. You need this. You need that. Water bills, power bills, all of these things that feed the economy. It is disgraceful, but it is, again, that's sort of like, that's what they're for. Oh, you're old fashioned. You're living in the 50s. All that kind of carry on. Look, here's the reality. I don't know a single woman who has children who wishes that they could have just put them in daycare and kind of walked away. Every woman I know loves and cherishes their kids and wants to spend more time with them. And this whole narrative to push children into having other people raise your kids, right? Whether it's daycare, then it becomes preschool and kindy and all that sort of thing. Then it becomes more and more schooling, and the kids are just trapped into that system. It is, look, we all know that there's a bigger game at play here, right? We know what this is, and we know it's, about, well, it's all about control. And, we can go, oh, you're left wing or you're right wing. Well, look, let's be honest, most of it's the same bird, all right?
Exactly right.
It really is, yeah. Look, are Labor governments worse for fathers? 100%, no doubt about it. Labor governments and Labor ministers and Greens are a cancer on the family, okay? Are Liberals better? Yeah, but I don't know. It's like picking which disease you want, It's really...
You know what? That's probably the best analogy of a politician I've heard in a long time, Mr. Malloy. I appreciate that.
I cleaned it up mid-sentence, let me tell you. I was thinking...
Well, and the old saying, you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. They get paid a fortune, but yet they're still not accountable for any bullshit that they push on us, are they?
No, they're not. And afterwards, after their career in Parliament's finished, if they've done a couple of terms, for argument's sake, they end up, of course, with salaries that go on forever. You and I, we have to wait till we're 67 years old to retire, right? Unless we're, going well financially. We can do that at 60. Well, good luck for
anybody that's ever been in family court has got no chance in retiring.
No chance. Actually, that's a really good point. On a side note, I deal with an excellent guy who does a show about finance, and the amount of people that he's having to, well, they've lost all their super through relationship breakdowns. They've lost the kids, they've lost the house, they've lost their super. Right? They basically walk out with the underpants that they've got, and that's about it. And you're finding so many, predominantly men, sometimes women, are having to restart their lives like this. It's absolutely crazy. And when we're talking about retirement, okay, everyone has a right to get to their retirement and have a level of comfort. Okay, when I say comfort, I just don't want people living and having to decide if they're putting the heater on. Do you know what I mean? Through the middle of winter, which people are doing. Because the cost of living is out of control. I'm just talking at a basic level of comfort. This is just getting pushed further and further away because so many of us don't have that option. Because if you've been married once, you've taken a massive hit. Okay, and we all know most marriages end in divorce, and most marriages, when they end in divorce, end with the man being absolutely smashed, right? And so you have to restart your life there. There's so many different aspects to this, which is just it's detrimental to society, right?
It is. It really is, yeah.
Yeah. And I know we're all...
Sorry to interject, mate, but as we go forward, we're paying the price, society in its whole is paying the price for what's been taking place in the family court since 1975. I think it was in one of our first discussions that we discussed this and we're now seeing... We're seeing young people basically incapable of being parents that are having children, and they're based on the way they were raised, that I only need a man to have a child. I don't need you to help me raise it. You know, I'll get child support. I'll get the single mother's pension. I don't need you to help me once you conceive the child with me. You're basically a disposable commodity nowadays, aren't you?
100%. And we live in such a disposable world that everything is just use and throw away. And right now we live in a society where we use and we throw away men. Yeah. And we throw around terms like toxic masculinity and this and that, all these negative terms, where if you look at if you look at just history, full stop, and you look at the incredible impact that men and women have had because they bring something very, very unique to the party. We need both genders, and there are only two, right? We need both genders. I don't know about you, but every time archaeologists dig up a body, they're only ever finding two genders. So there you go.
Well, but and the funny thing is, mate, that I can't agree with you anymore on that point. And you would think anybody that has any aspect of common sense wouldn't try to mount an argument, but in today's society, it's very hard to reason with unreasonable people, isn't it?
Well, that's a great statement. And I tell you, it comes down to the fact of common sense ain't so common anymore.
Exactly right, mate.
It's a rarity. And why is that the case? Because guess what? People are being raised and they're having their hand held all the way. We're talking about a life of participation awards. We're learning about the fact that you don't grow as a person unless you challenge. You don't grow as a person unless you've had competition. You just don't grow. And when you don't grow, you become awfully compliant, don't you?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Good and little obedient economic slave, you would say.
Exactly right. This is what we're going through right now. It's an absolute war.
Yeah.
And there were battles that will be won. There will be battles that will be lost. Right now, because of the work that's been done, right now we're hurting as men. Okay, we are really hurting as men. But again, like I've said many times before, the women in my life, the women I speak to, they're all so damaged now. They're all suffering as well. So this is actually a war that's affecting both genders. It really is. And yes, the men have got the disposable. We've become disposable, but the value of a woman has also disappeared.
Well, I think it's almost similar, but from a different aspect in the sense of women are being conditioned to believe that all men are potential violent perpetrators. Oh. But every man now, if it hasn't directly happened to you, you know somebody that's been completely screwed over by the system, and you're fully aware that should you decide to have a child with somebody, you're not just handing them the keys to your house, your car, your super. You're giving them access to you as an individual and the control that should things go south, they have all the rights and you have none, and you will be coerced into considering taking your own life. No doubt about it.
Look, coerce is a word we use so much now. It's really even stronger than that. It's forced.
Yeah.
Right? It's a easier and a more natural option to take the option to kill yourself. Like now you're needing greater strength to not kill yourself. So it just shows how the ledger is completely out of whack here. And as far as like, okay, and I look at it from this point of view, every single man I know under the age of, I'm going to put a number on it here, 50, okay, bar one, with one exception, everyone I know has lost his kids. Everyone.
How's that? Bar one?
Bar one.
Yep.
And you know why he's got his kids? Because he's very, very, very wealthy. And he bought his children, okay? Yep. He basically bought his freedom. Yeah. He gave the ex a big chunk of money. That's what happened.
Yep.
And then that woman's got every right to see the kids. It's not like, there's any alienation going on, but that's the only reason he has his children in his life. For the rest of us, that's just not an option, and that just should not happen.
Yeah.
I'm a car guy, right? So I'm the other day, being the crazy misogynist that I am, I'm out there shopping for a car for my best friend of 32 years, who is a woman, right? So I always like to throw the misogynist line out there, saying my best mate's a woman. But anyway, so we're looking at cars, and she doesn't want to go there physically at this stage. So myself, her husband, and I go to look at this. Just myself and her husband go to look at this car. And we're talking to the car dealer. We're going through it. So it's a lovely thing. It's all going well. Yada yada yada. And then I don't know how it even came up in conversation, but all three of us had to restart our lives. All three of us lost our kids. All three of us lost our homes. All three of us lost our possessions. Right? And like it affected the negotiations of the car. Right? And it's just like, I kind of felt like, can you go anywhere that this isn't a part of your life? And the answer is no, because it's just, where can you go? If I'm in a shopping centre, when I see a father with his children, I feel fear. I feel a lot of fear, because I look at them and I think, I look at the dad and I think, how long have you got, mate? How long? You know what? Enjoy every moment, because how long have you got?
Yeah. And the sad thing is, you're right. I haven't sat back and noticed how many men actually have, but I do notice that pretty much across the board, when you look through the lens nowadays of what I've been through, I can see that this fabricated myth that men have always ruled the roost is not what I see. It really isn't. Like, I see quite the opposite. Most of the women are in control of most relationships that I can see around me.
Honest, and you put your ego aside and you look at the world through very clear lenses, guess what you'll see? Exactly what you just saw. Almost all relationships, of course, there are outliers to everything, okay? But in most relationships, I grew up in a loving house with a mum and dad together, okay? My parents didn't divorce, and they were together till the day my mum passed away. And I always joked about mum being the brains of the operation, okay? Mum ran things, okay? Yeah. And, dad was, great, good provider, went and did his thing, all of that sort of stuff, raised the family well. But I know who ran that place, relationship. And I look at the fact of, any of my relationships, whether you, again, put the ego out for a minute, all right? What are men trying to do? We are trying to produce the best life we can for the women in our lives. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, well, and your family.
Sorry?
And the family. But yeah, you're right.
Of course, mate. Now, actually, it's a really good point that you've said that, because when I say woman, I'm thinking family.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, when a woman is in my life, she is my family. And then we have children and it goes on for that. So, and I know that I know what a woman is, right? I know that, like crazy, phenomenal stuff, I know, but I know that a man in a dress who gets into a boxing ring and beats up a woman and then gets a gold medal is a cheat, a thug, and a criminal. It's just wrong. And again, it comes sort of full circle about the devaluing of the family. And when you devalue the family, you're devaluing the woman as well as the man.
Yeah.
So when women who are, run around thinking that feminism is fantastic because I can put a man down, I can say, I don't need a man, and we see it all the time. It's just everywhere.
How many, let me ask you this, Aaron, how many men in your lifetime, mate, have you heard or ever publicly make the statement that I'm a proud, independent man?
Dumb, isn't it? It's just dumb. I mean, when I hear that, you are so bang on, man. Like when I hear, I'm an independent woman, I pay my own bills. Yeah. So, hang on, you're an adult. Gotcha. You're an adult, right? Because guess what? I cook my own meals. I pay my own bills. I wash my own clothes. I do all these things. Oh, man, I'm a boss girl, right? Like, come on. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Guess what? You're a grown adult. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what gear you got down there. You're an adult. So don't be congratulating yourself for the bare bloody minimum.
That's the thing, though. It comes back to the old participation award, doesn't it? They've never been encouraged to actually want to win in life. Just cruise through and you can claim to be whatever it is you decide that day. Well,
the great thing to claim right now is victimhood. Be a victim because you will have everything thrown at you.
Something that I'm sure you're in the same category as me, where I'm a survivor of false allegations in family court. I've never, ever considered myself to be a victim of anything.
I hate the word.
Yep.
I hate the word. And every time I use it, I feel a little bit sick. You know, I think to myself, yeah, and I don't even like survivor. I think we need a whole new damn term.
Yeah.
But what can you do? We'll just hang on. I was about to say we can't start inventing words. Well, yes, we can, because that's apparently how the world works now.
That's a thing in today's world, mate. Yeah. We'll come up with something over the next couple of weeks, mate.
Oh, mate, well, you know what? If we want to be trendy, we better work the word trans into it somewhere, okay? Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to not be trendy on that point.
Oh, mate, it is just so silly. And, you know, we make light of things, but at the end of the day, the kids are the ones who are suffering, right? The kids are the ones who they are being psychologically abused. My kids right now, today, are being psychologically abused. Yeah. And your taxpayer dollars are paying for it.
Yeah.
My taxpayer dollars.
My kids are being psychologically abused and have been for the past 10 years through the family court system and their lack of holding a female perpetrator to account for what they damn well know were false allegations used to dictate custody, and they simply didn't care enough to put a stop to it. And they've subjected my children to potentially a lifelong trauma that they never, ever, ever needed to experience. And I would have done my darndest to make sure they never face this sort of shit if I was given the opportunity to stay in their life. So,
but you've made a mistake there, mate, because they've achieved their goals. That was their goal.
Yeah,
that was the family court's goal. Customers of the future, right? It's, you know, they don't build cars to last forever anymore, right? They build them to last for a few years because they need customers. Well, the family court and all those services, and you know, the incredible massive glut of psychologists and psychiatrists we have out there, or people, you know, like it's become laughable. And I'm not saying that we don't need those kind of people in the world, but there's an awful lot of them. There's an awful lot, and a lot of them aren't good. I mean, most of them aren't any good, to be frank. I've got a friend who's a psychologist, and I'd tell her straight out, right, that, you know, like I wouldn't go to her, and I wouldn't send anybody I love to her, because the ideology that she has been absorbing for such a long time taints so much her ability to do it. And I know, having known her for a long time, that the only reason she's a psychologist is so that she can try and understand her own problems.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, well, I think there's maybe 99% of them are no good. I know a couple, and I see one, and I have since the spate of false allegations have kicked off, and
good on you.
I went through 5 before I found one that I could actually. There wasn't a Poindexter suit wearing, life's all about reading 1,000 textbooks and I know everything and I've got no life experience. And when I finally found, I'll give Homer a shout out, Mr. Zeitz.
Right.
It was more, so I don't go to him to vent I go to him to vent. It's not so much about therapy as it is getting it off my chest to somebody that has no judgment, and he may have a few suggestions for me to try in the future how to alleviate these stresses. But I'm a country lad. These are the things that you go through in family court. There's not a lot of us that are comfortable enough to speak about this, even with close friends, let alone in a public setting.
Well, they don't believe you, mate.
No, yeah.
Because people have this perception that you go to family court and it's a court and they look at the evidence and they weigh it up. There's those lovely scales out there, yada, yada, right? And we'll look at what she said. We'll look at what he said. No, it does not work like that at all. Okay, so when you're talking to a friend, they look at you like, and I've had friends go, surely you did something.
Yep, sure. I've heard the same thing, mate. Yep.
Yeah. And like when I've had friends going, you know, did you cheat on her? Like, why did, you know, why? What's her reason for wanting to? And I'm like, no, like, yeah, I didn't. I had no reason to. Not that there's really great reasons to anyway, but I had absolutely no reason to look elsewhere, right?
You're right. A lot of people need to justify it in their own mind. You had to have done something, because I believe, like the court tells me, all their decisions are paramount in the children's best interest. So you had to have done something.
Of course. And it's not. It's never, ever, ever in the children's best interest. Never. I've never seen a circumstance where that's been the case. And I would actually encourage people to do something. Look, this might be a bit boring, but it'll open your eyes for the rest of your life. And I've actually had friends who've done this on my recommendation. But go into the family court. I don't even know if you can anymore, but you used to before the old Wu flu. But you can go in and sit in the back in the gallery and just watch the cases for a day.
Yeah.
And your jaw will hit the ground when you see the complete fabrication. Fabrication's a terrible lie. It's a lie. It's a lie. When you see just the outright lying going on, you see everything very, very differently. You understand now that this can't be the case. Like, you watch them just be purely sexist and incredibly damaging to the children. The children are just used. They are nothing but pawns for power and profit. That's all the kids are there for, to make as many people money as they can. That's what they're there for, and to create a legacy so that your former partner or wife or whatever is empowered financially. Do you know that in some states now, and of course it'll be flying out across Australia, but now if there is domestic violence, there is also a bonus and from the financial side as well.
Yeah, I heard about that, yeah.
It's like when now I don't want to give you a false figure here, but I'm pretty sure this is how my memory says it. This is a long time ago. This is about 9 years, whatever. I was talking to someone about the stats of when they changed the law and actually took away, as we've talked about before, Julia Gillard took away the need for any evidence for claims of abuse. Yep. Okay. Do you know how much the abuse in the family court leapt up that day?
No.
80%.